maybe good to slightly introduce myself also, since where is all the information that I want to share coming from. I work at Portio, and because of that, I have the privilege to work with tons of agencies. In my last couple of years at Portio, I've visited over 100 of them all across Europe. We do team and training sessions together with the agencies, and also hosting a monthly webinar with Agency in Spotlight. We actually have one of my dear guests here, Anne Stanley, who runs an agency that's going on for 18 years already. So that's obviously where I get my information from. Now, about Portio, so for the guys who don't know us yet, we are a CSS partner, and we obviously focus on helping advertisers to boost their shopping ads. We build easy and accessible tools for them to do so, and we do quite well. We work with over 800 agencies and 15,000 advertisers, so we have tons of data to work with, tons of learnings that we apply to our services, as well as learnings that we don't apply, which I'm also about to share. So what do we actually create for them then? Some of you might know our labelizer strategy. I've heard heroes and zombies before. That's coming from us. So we have a tool that segments your products based on performance, so you can allocate the right budget to them. As well as we have a platform where we give you options to also optimize your feed, so you'll have a better input for the AI algorithms such as Performance Max to showcase your shopping ads. Now, some nice concepts that I work with the agencies is, for instance, where we get founders together and talk about what's keeping them up at night and what are their challenges in 2025 and maybe the years after. So I think there's some agencies on here that might sound familiar to you, but we also work with smaller agencies, actually of all different kinds of sizes, from the Netherlands and the UK. So a quick comparison between the two. I had a nice animation here, but it's already pretty much showing what I was about to tell. You guys still are better in football than we are in the Netherlands, proven by the 2-1 win in the Euro Cup last year. But I would vouch that we are better in serving beers, because we actually add the accordion top of foam on top of them. If you argue against me, then it's probably because you're from England and you're biased. And then for the similarities, so both the UK and the Netherlands, we're very well developed in the PPC landscape. So it goes to show in the European Search Awards and the Global Search Awards, where there's always a lot of nominees from both the UK and the Netherlands. We host big industry events like Pride and SEO and the Hero Conference, and we in the Netherlands have Friends of Search. And we also have issues with privacy and attribution that's concerning us a lot. We have obviously automation increasing and some challenges in talent recruitment. So that's also nice for the PPC specialists here. How can you take a competitive advantage in your work and make yourself more valuable to your agency or if you're working on client end? And let's not hide the fact that I'm in sales. If the slides that I just showed you didn't already tell you that, you guys are also all in sales, right? You want to sell to your client what you think is best for them to improve their performance and what is needed to get more sales. So, if we're talking about sales, let's see what we can do in the near future to improve ourselves. Sometimes I find myself in argument with a true specialist that really did it all, in my opinion. So he looks at our solutions, he's like, yeah, that's pretty cool and all that, but I want to do more. I want to segment not just on performance, but also I want to segment on weather changing, on pricing data, on stock levels, on margins, and so on. And I think that's great. You can spend a lot of time to do so and really optimize the account, and then you hit the level where you did all that, but the client is still expecting more. And then what are you going to do? Because it seems like you did it all. Or what if you have another client that you can't spend the same hours on as you did on this client? What are you going to do for them? So I think in PPC we're heading towards a place where that part of campaign management, which we get a lot of good things and insightful thoughts to work on, but we hit a limit there. And I have two quotes here from two agency experts that I wanted to share with you, which are really underlining what I'm about to share with you. Let's go to the first one of Richard Hill. I'm just going to read them out loud. I'm sure you can read, but it's nice. in 2025, agencies need to double down on strategic thinking, with automation doing more of the heavy lifting. Clients are looking for partners who can interpret the data, challenge assumptions, and shape real growth strategies. Not just manage campaigns, but become a growth partner. Next up is Harry from Found Agency, Director of Growth. He said, in a privacy-first world, relying solely on last-click attribution no longer cuts it. Successful brands embrace customer-centric tests and calibrate strategies. Growth comes from channel-specific approaches that respect each platform's unique audience and purpose. By moving beyond last click, brands often uncover untapped opportunities, especially in emerging or less competitive spaces. All right, let those two sink in. And let me try to visualize to you guys what we did mostly to add value to our clients in the last couple of years. And that was, as you can see, a big share of campaign management. Small share of marketing strategy, some data management, attribution, a big share of reporting as well, and then some creatives. I think today, this is looking a lot more like this. So the value is actually way less in campaign management, since automation is obviously lowering the barriers there, making it accessible for almost everybody. And our line of business should be more focused on marketing strategy. Really think and understand the business of your client and help them to steer towards growth across multiple platforms. Use data management, right? So first-party data is a necessity. If you don't use it, you're flying blind in this world. And try to get that attribution fixed, since marketing journeys are more and more fractured. Value comes from way more sources than just Google Ads. And the agency that is able in connecting those dots will win in the long term. So, if I'm talking PPC and you're in being a PPC specialist, which I'm assuming you guys are, that campaign management was some sort of a safe place, something where you had, where you feel like you were in control and you can turn the buttons in your favor, and then, like I tried to explain before, you hit a cross point at some point, and you need to go into strategize data management, and that would require more collaboration. That would require you to be in touch with colleagues of you, other agents that manage multiple different channels. You need to collaborate a lot more with your client. You need to understand what is their situation, what are their objectives, and what strategy suits that best. So, we're going to future-proof your agency. First things we should focus on are the shift from execution to data and automation oversight. So, data ownership and first-party strategies, said it before, here once more. Attribution, modeling, and cookieless tracking, with cookies going out of the window and GA4 just confusing a whole lot of people. You need to support your client in doing this way more efficient and show them where true value is at. And AI optimized ad structures, so use whatever you can, like Sophie just shared in Performance Max. If you just let Performance Max do all the work, it's probably not in your best favor, probably more in Google's best favor, just going to hit easy wins with branded search, or not, because there was also something to argue about. So yeah, search isn't there, but it's definitely changing. Performance channels alone won't cut it, and I think this is a really nice graph shown on Friends of Search from Spark Thorough that is actually trying to visualize where your audience is actually influenced compared to where most of your budget is going towards, right? So you can see Google still owns most of the share of your budget, but it's definitely not the channel where most of your audiences are influenced. So try to multi-touch your strategy and influence your audience in the right places. From another survey, the PPC survey, we've learned that in the last year, PPC specialists, 55% of them only do besides doing paid search, they also focus on paid social and YouTube ads. That means that almost half of the other PPC specialists are only focused on paid search right now. So there's the competitive advantage I talked about for you guys if you're a PPC specialist, because agencies also share that the biggest struggle for them is actually finding the right talent. So if you're the one that does both and does both well, you have a competitive advantage towards your peers. All right. Attribution will get even harder. So this is a statement here that tracking is broken. It's definitely very fragmented. You can't see your credited touch points. Try to help your client. Try to educate them and bringing in the business data you need to help them out, and to see if you can show that there's a comparison between soft metrics and hard metrics. If you can create a correlation dashboard where you can show what's the actual, where the audience is actually influenced before they go into Google Ads to get to the conversion. So there's definitely more journeys these days, right? TikTok Shop, which is brand new, private messaging, podcast discovery, social comments, and communities, which we also need to keep in mind. And an option could be, for instance, server-side tracking. Now, if you use AI, definitely make sure you use it in your advantage, right? And to do so, you need to feed it with the right data. With Performance Max, you're obviously lowering the barriers. That means that there's more competitiveness, and also costs go up. So make sure that you don't let AI do all the work, because it will prioritize easy wins like branded searches, while platforms push to justify ad spend. So again, make use of the right data, and that first-party data fuel your AI campaigns. Some practical steps. Let me quickly walk you through these. Enhanced tracking and analytics with APIs and first-party data. Again, repetition. Use AI tools strategically for automation and optimization, for instance, Product Hero. Invest in customer insights to reduce cookie dependency. Here is obviously the server-side tagging coming back. Develop some frameworks for tracking influence, and educate your client in that new metrics that matter. So not just where the conversion happens, but also where they're influenced, and go for that multi-channel approach. So steer away from only focusing on Google Ads for now. So also let's reflect a little bit back on what that brings us Product Hero. Obviously, we've seen these challenges. We need to innovate as well to get there. So an important thing for us is, since we are trying to support the agencies and the advertisers and what they need to do, we also need to look into how can we help them to connect that business data that they have and make it accessible for their campaigns adjustment. Try to see if there's possible ways that we can get into that gap where ITP causes that 30% of the conversions are untracked, make sure that the value is visible. That means that we're still part of the advertising cycle, where your strategy and the product platform influencers help you to create and update campaigns, gather insights for the performance, and improve them as well directly from there. So if you think, okay, very well, Sam, I'm not planning on going multi-channel anytime soon, I'm just going to focus on Google Ads and do what I can do there and focus on campaign management still, good for you. We will also try up and do our best to support you in that, like we do with staying ahead of the curve, try to continuously add ways that you can still make an impact on your campaign management, just as we did when we launched the Labelizer, the Product AI tool, and the Performance Max Insights we lately launched. As well as we are looking into ways of going multi-channel to also support you and make it easy and accessible to steer away from just Google, but also go into Microsoft, Meta, and perhaps TikTok. That is coming very soon. I'd like to close off again with the key takeaways of what I tried to get across here, and that is that the value of your agency and your work is shifting towards marketing strategy. Understand that your client is no longer just looking for somebody who can manage their campaigns, but for somebody who understands their business, their growth, and true value there. Data management. If you don't use first-party data, you're flying blind. So try to focus on putting the best possible information in, because the better the input, the better the outcomes, especially in this AI environment we're in. And then last but not least, attribution. Try to be the agency that can connect the dots, because that will let you win in the long term. My name was Tielemans. Thank you very much for listening. You can connect with me on LinkedIn or join our newsletter. Thank you very much.